Dear friends, I hope you all are doing well. I am Biju Ramachandran. I share best book summaries and tips for busy people and those who don't like reading non-fiction books. Today's book is a classic and it's a continuation. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. A book that influenced millions and me one among them. As 7 Habits is an amazing and must-learn book in my opinion. I'm doing it in 3 parts. I did part 1, which was the introduction. Now part 2 to the main content, the habits. Today I shall describe the first 3 habits in detail. Habit 1. Be proactive. We are not our feelings. The fact that we can think about our thoughts separates us from the animal world. Animals act on their basic nature. Even if trained well, their basic instincts surface when they are provoked. But human beings have the power to control their nature and respond differently to circumstances. Stephen Covey advises us to make use of that power. He shows us how to stop complaining about other people, our environment, childhood, parents, weather, politics, economy, etc., and take responsibility for a life in our hands. Stephen Covey stresses that be proactive is the foundational habit on which we can build other habits. To be proactive, the first thing we need to change is our response. How to do that? Dr. Covey says between what happens to us and our response, we have the freedom to choose our response. We don't have to react. We can respond. He cites the example of Viktor Frankl. He says that even in the most extreme circumstances, this principle can be applied. Dr. Viktor Frankl was in Hitler's Nazi concentration camp. His family was killed in the gas chamber. Viktor Frankl was a psychologist in Austria before being imprisoned in the concentration camp. In the captivity, he suffered torture, forced labor, and extreme weather conditions naked and alone. He was trained in the Freudian determinist theory. It says your childhood and past experiences shape your character and personality and basically determines or governs your whole life. He decided to think differently. He trained his mind to exercise power to choose his response. He imagined being free and teaching students. He helped other prisoners find meaning in their suffering and dignity in their prison existence. Always take the initiative. Take responsibility. Stop blaming. Don't wait for others to change, then act or be acted upon. Dr. Viktor Frankl was fortunate to survive the concentration camp torture and was finally freed. He went on to teach his findings and developed logotherapy, a therapeutic approach that helps people find personal meaning in life. It is based on the idea that we are strongly motivated to live purposefully and meaningfully, and that we find a meaning in life as a result of responding authentically and humanely to life's challenges. He wrote a profound book, Man's Search for Meaning. Taking the initiative empowers us to create circumstances. Reactive people focus their efforts in the circle of concern. They focus on other people's weaknesses, the problems in the environment and circumstances on which they have no control. Their focus results in blaming and accusing attitudes, reactive language, and increased feelings of victimization. The negative energy generated by that focus, combined with neglecting areas they could do something about, causes their circle of influence to shrink. Proactive people, on the other hand, focus their efforts in the circle of influence. They work on things they can do something about. The nature of their energy is positive, enlarging and magnifying, causing the circle of influence to expand. Stephen Covey again cites Gandhiji's example. Look at Gandhi. His accusers and other political parties criticized him because he wouldn't join in their circle of concern of complaining against and condemning the British Empire. Gandhi was out in the rice paddies quietly and gradually expanding his circle of influence with the field laborers. Slowly, a groundswell of support, trust, of confidence followed him through the countryside. Though he held no office or political position, he eventually brought England to its knees through compassion, courage, fasting, and moral persuasion. Proactive people don't keep complaining. Stephen Covey advises first to change our reactive language and avoid excuses. For example, when a reactive person complains, "He makes me so mad," a proactive person responds, "I control my feelings. Others have no control of my feelings. I don't complain. I am responsible for my life." Ultimately, we should be able to tell that I'm not a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. Before going to the next habit, I take the liberty to tell a funny incident related to Viktor Frankl's great book. This small book is so powerful that it can stir your deep emotions and inspire you to the core. I read this during one of my holiday trips, I think 12 years ago, with some dear friends to Wales, and this book inspired me to crazy levels. During a treat of adventure, my paternal instincts reached the highest level. I walked 3/4 of my treat of adventure backwards to make sure my tiny son was safe walking alone between my wife and me. But in the anticlimax, my 4-year-old son proved to be far braver than me without any inspiration. He did the final freefall jump from a tall treetop. He was so calm and smiling innocently as nothing big happened, and people stopped and applauded. Now let me be honest. I'm not brave enough to describe my wife's response during her jump next. Next, habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Imagine you are meeting with all your family members and friends for the funeral of a person you all know. You walk towards the coffin and look stunned. That person is you. It is the day of your funeral, and all these people have come to honor your memory. During the ceremony, 4 people are going to speak about you: a close family member, a dear friend, a work colleague, someone from an association you were involved. They are the representatives of the 4 dimensions of your relationships: family, friends, work, and society. They share with others all the things they want to remember about you. Think deeply. What would you like each of the speakers to say about you and your life? Which values, contributions, and achievements do you want to be remembered for? What difference would you like to have made in their lives? If you carefully consider what you want to be said of you in the funeral experience, you are starting with the end in mind. So you have nothing to regret at the end of your life and be proud of your life. Habit 2 suggests that in everything we do, we should begin with the end in mind. Start with a clear destination to make sure the steps we are taking are in the right direction. All things are created twice. Remember the construction of any building. The engineer first created it in every detail before hammer hits the first nail. Stephen Covey advises taking time to plan our life than just living it. Make a blueprint of our life. To begin with the end in mind, we have to take personal leadership of our life, not just manage our life. In this relation, we have to understand clearly the difference between a leader and a manager. Management and leadership gurus Peter Drucker and Warren Bennis both agree that management is doing things right and leadership is doing the right things. Management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. He explains this by asking us to imagine a management versus leadership situation. A group of workers are cutting their way through the jungle with large knife or machetes. The managers are behind them, sharpening their machetes, writing policy, holding muscle development programs, etc. The leader is the one who climbs the tallest tree, surveys the entire situation and yells, "Wrong jungle." But how do the busy managers respond? "Shut up. We are making progress." We are like those workers so busy cutting, we don't realize we are in the wrong jungle. So always think leadership first and management second in your life and for your organization. To make a blueprint of life powerful, we have to have something central in our life, a solid foundation. Because our life centers are potent, they fundamentally determine our daily decisions, actions, and motivations. So it is vital to identify the center of your life. Ask yourself, what is your center? Is it family, money, work, possession, pleasure, friends, enemy, religion, self, or spouse? Ask yourself this question again and find an honest answer. Dr. Covey advises that all these centers have defects, even the most common, family-centeredness. He suggests a principles-centered life because everything else can change. But principles are timeless and unchanging and the most solid foundation to center your life. Make a personal mission statement. It is not your life goals. It is your life philosophy, your own personal philosophy. For example, we can write, my mission is to live with integrity and make a difference in the lives of others. To fulfill this mission, you can then define your roles in your life and decide how well you will perform each part. Fundamentally, your mission statement becomes your constitution, the solid expression of your vision and values. It becomes the criterion by which you measure everything else in your life. Similarly, make a family mission statement and an organizational mission statement. Next, habit 3, put first things first. Stephen Covey advises a principle-based time management system. Imagine trying to fill the jar with pebbles and gravel first and then rocks, as in that picture. Rocks are the important things in our life, our family, health, and relationships. Pebbles and gravels are emails, social media, television, etc. This picture teaches us that if you don't put big rocks in first, you will never get them in at all. The key is not to prioritize what is on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Next, the time management matrix or Eisenhower matrix. This model uses a 4-quadrant system to help you categorize each task, responsibility, and facet of your life based on urgency and importance. Urgency means tasks and responsibilities requiring immediate action or attention. Importance means those with high significance or value to goals. In quadrant 1, urgent and important involves responsibilities or tasks related to critical results and require urgent attention. Example, crisis, deadline, etc. You do them. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important, involves focusing on activities to develop a sense of discipline and commitment and identifying and working on things you can control. Example, health, exercise, family, relationships, personal development, etc. Action, plan them. Quadrant 3, urgent but not important, and involves urgent and assumes some forms of importance at the moment. Example, emails, calls, etc. Delegate them effectively. Quadrant 4, not urgent, not important. These are the time wasters and need to be removed entirely or reduced. Example, social media, television, etc. Action, reduce or eliminate them. In conclusion, according to this time management matrix, the heart of effective personal management is quadrant 2. It deals with building relationships, long-term planning, exercising, personal development, everything we need to do. But somehow we don't get around to actually doing them because they don't feel urgent. So in order to focus on our time in quadrant 2, we have to say no to other activities and sometimes delegate effectively. Covey also advises to use weekly planner because it will help shift focus from the pressing or urgent matter next day to more important activities spread over a week. So in summary, today we covered the first 3 habits needed for personal victory and moving from dependence to independence. Habit 1, be proactive. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. And habit 3, put first things first. In the following video, we will cover the remaining 4 habits. Thanks again for your patience and listening to the end. I'm sure you are interested in personal development and that is inspiring. I wish you all the best. I shall continue with the following habits in the next video. Till then, take care and thank you so much.